there's no way to find out what the recessive genes are in any horse, correct?
That's correct. That's part of the game, part of hiding things and letting you all work that out, right, to figure out what your horses can throw or not throw.
Okay.
It's Vino.
Hi, Vino.
So in this example here, there is no way that they are going to throw a thoroughbred, since it isn't in the parent's genetic line. As the children start breeding down, and thoroughbred obviously won't be in their genes in this example. So I can pretty much guarantee, or you can pretty much guarantee me that children of these children won't have a thoroughbred in it unless it's bred with something that has a thoroughbred?
That's absolutely correct. The only way that a horse, if you can mute your mic, it's echoing. So the only way that a horse could produce a thoroughbred is if it has it in its genetic makeup. It cannot pass on anything it does not have. These two parents do not have a thoroughbred in them. So if you look at them, you'll see it's not there. And so you will not expect to get that from any of its children. Now, if you want a thoroughbred, you would have to, obviously you would have to buy a thoroughbred or have another horse that had it as a recessive gene, but you would not get it from these parents. Or you wouldn't get any other breed that isn't in there. And that holds for the manes, tails, eyes, and face markings. Whatever is in that horse, that's what it can pass on. If it's not in the horse, it will not pass it on. As I know, some people find it confusing. We've been told these horses have a maximum of 4 genes, including visible, and minimum of 2 genes, including visible. When the number of genes have reduced to 2, are those 3 hidden slots repeated in 1 or more genes, or are the slots taken away? So if they're only carrying 2, for example, I'm going to click on a horse to show that example. So let me just show you, and this is, again, I'm not changing necessarily anything in these horses. This is for the demo. But if you look at the father on the platform on the top right, I'm going to click on it because I've changed the script just to show these kinds of questions and answer it. And let's say it only has 2 genes. And so in this case, the father would only carry the Mustang and the paint genes. It's not like we're repeating them or anything else. It's only carrying those 2 genes. We're not going to tell you how those things are combined and what the numbers are or anything like that. So that I'm not going to answer you. But those are the only 2 genes now that those could pass on. It will not have any of the others. And like I said earlier, horses can only pass on the genetic material that they carry.
The mindset that you're talking about, does it just apply to the coat and the breed, or does it apply across the whole spectrum, as in the vanity traits and also the stats in the horse?
It applies to everything, because what we're trying to make sure is, I'm not going to sit here and tell you these are real-life horses. We obviously know they're pixels. But what we're trying to do is make them behave in a way that's predictable, yet you don't know everything. There is, because you don't know what the recessive genes are, you're not sure what's going to happen when you breed. You just can do through experience. You know that certain horses throw certain things more often than not. So you learn those things as you're breeding. And if you take the time, like I know a lot of you do, writing things down, tracking things, you start getting some predictability out there. There's no guarantees because you have recessive. But that occurs across the board, so that is for skills as well. So if you've got something that has a high trait in speed, for example, again, keep in mind it's carrying some recessives for those same things. And because of that, what it passes on can depend on those recessives. So you're not guaranteed to pass on the same skills that that parent has because it's carrying recessives for that as well.
So what you're saying is, in a lot of cases, there is going to be like a not like a lot of predictability, but some. And then, in the other hand, there's going to be like the life's a box of chocolates kind of scenario, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So, because you don't know what's inside them, right? Like the box of chocolates, you don't know what's inside until you take one, right? But you're going to get some variability in this. But because you can see their dominant traits, you do have some idea of what at least one set of genes that they carry, and so you have some predictability in what they might pass on. But over time, if you breed a horse or a pair of horses together, you can probably, if you're really diligent, kind of start guessing a little bit about how they behave. Again, it's part of their genetic makeup. We're not going to change that on you. What's in the horse is in the horse. That's why you need to be able to know that you can rely on these horses to behave in a way that's predictable. You just don't know everything, so you can't guarantee the outcome because there are things you just don't know what's inside them. Let's see, I have another question down here. Are coats separate from breed? Or is it genetic breed, black? So there are certain coats that go with certain breeds. And so that would be controlled by the breeding logic of the children and what they get from their parents. So there are some coats that certain breeds can't have, and so you would not see a Mustang have any of those coats, for example, that is not allowed. And so when the parents have those coats in them, they have coats that are sufficient to go with the breeds they carry, so that when they produce children, the coats, while they come from the parents, there are enough coats in the parents that go along with the breeds that they're carrying to pass that on correctly. And so the coats are separate in the sense that they're also chosen in the same way that you would the breed, but they're only chosen from things that are suitable for the breed. Now, I know that's a little bit more complex than we've been talking about, but what that would mean is a parent that is a Mustang, so if we looked at the mother and she was a Mustang, she's going to carry a certain number of coats, up to 4, that go with her Mustang breed. And so the father, if he's a Mustang, he's going to carry up to 4 coats that go with that breed. And they do it for each breed that they carry, so they all carry coats that go along with the breeds in both the dominant and the recessives. That way, when I mate 2 parents and they produce a child, the breed come from the parents and the coats come from those as well.
Is it ever possible to have 2 of the same genes, like a Mustang, and 2 of the slots, say?
So that was a question that was asked earlier, and
I'm sorry.
that's okay, because I probably didn't answer it fully, and so the answer would be no. They will carry the genes up to 4, and they will be different. And now, from your perspective, it really doesn't matter if they were to have duplicates. The way they represent are basically the dominant and the recessives, and we have the rules for how those are combined and how they're picked. And so it wouldn't really necessarily change the rules from your perspective, but just so you know, we don't repeat them in how we store them.
So every horse carries 4 genes in it then?
No.
3 recessive and the one that they are?
They can carry from 2 to 4. They can have 1 dominant and 1 recessive. And so let me show you an example. So if you look at the horse, let's just pick one down on the platform. Let's look at the Arabian, child number 5. Right now, he's carrying 4 genes. He's carrying 1 dominant, which is the Arabian, and he's carrying recessives 1, 2, and 3, which is the Mustang Clydesdale paint. He could be only carrying 3 genes. So in that case, he would have 1 dominant, 1 recessive, and another recessive. So he has 3. So now we went from 4 to 3, or he could have 2. In that case, he would carry the dominant and then 1 recessive. They will always have 2, and they will never have more than 4.
Okay, on the logic of just having a recessive and a dominant only, if you take two horses, let's say Mustang and Paint, you take a male and female, both of them have the same dominant and recessive, then pretty much you can guarantee that you're going to either get that Mustang or the Paint, because they're the only two genes that each one would carry.
That is correct.
So there wouldn't be no surprise out of a Paint and Mustang recessive and dominant. All of a sudden, it's going to pop out of Clyde's.
No, because remember what I said earlier. If it's not in the parents, it will not be in the child.
Correct.
And so this is where you all who, you're diligent breeders, you work to weed things out and to do stuff. I mean, how you do your magic, how you figure that out, you all got your own methods. But, depending on how you're breeding, you may get to that point, right, where they're like that. And so, yes, you will not see surprise horses. Now, they may be surprised to you because you don't realize what's in the recessive genes. But from the way it's been designed, if I have two horses that have the same dominant and recessive genes, those are the only two types of children they're going to be able to produce.
How do I get a new eye out of the gene pool, and can you explain how that works?
So a new eye can be only taken in through starters. Like I said earlier, once a horse is born as a child from parents, whether it's starters or not, it has all the genetic material that it's going to carry and that it's going to pass on. And so if a new eye comes out, you will not see that come from any horses that aren't coming from a starter. Now, the way that works is, like I said earlier, starters, you can think of them as genetic vending machines. We have certain genetic material that we have in our gene pool that these starters can reach into and grab. So what happens when I made a starter with another horse is that starter will reach into the gene pool and it'll pull out things like eyes, manes, tails, breeds, coats, all the kinds of things that would make up a horse just temporarily to breed with that other horse, and then it creates a baby. And then it basically erases all that stuff, and the next time you breed that starter with another horse, it reaches into the gene pool and it grabs things out again, and then it passes those on. And what's really neat about that is that we can actually keep things that are rare so that it only pulls out things every so often for things that we want to be rare, and things that are more common, it will pull them out more often. And that's why you see things that are, have different levels of rarity, and only the starters can pull them out that way.